course, we're still talking about the aftermath of the Charlie Kirk assassination. Salty Cracker agreed to come back and give us his thoughts. He's here just after having been here last week or a couple days ago. He can be found on Rumble, Salty Cracker, and also on X, Salty Cracker 9. Paul Morrow is a Fox contributor and attorney. He was a longtime detective with the New York City Police Department, and he worked in the U.S. Congress, the National Counterterrorism Center, and he has some ideas about what might be going down with the perpetrator. And we also are going to be speaking with Douglas Mackey. He's a free speech activist, social media influencer who posted under the name Ricky Vaughn in March 2023. He was convicted of inspiring to deprive citizens of their right to vote because of a goof tweet from something like 5 years earlier. We'll get to all of it after this.
Our laws, as it pertains to substances, are draconian and bizarre. The psychopaths start this way. He was an alcoholic because of social media and pornography, PTSD, love addiction, fentanyl and heroin. Ridiculous. I'm a doctor, for sake. Where the hell do you think I learned that? I'm just saying, you go to treatment before you kill people. I am a clinician. I observe things about these chemicals. Let's just deal with what's real. We used to get these calls on Loveline all the time. Educate adolescents and to prevent and to treat. If you have trouble you can't stop and you want help stop it, I can help. I got a lot to say. I got a lot more to say.
I've spent most of my career dealing with illnesses that shorten life, and now we have ways to extend it and extend wellness. I've been working with the team over at V-Shred to develop a product that has everything I want in a longevity supplement. NR Boost has nicotinamide riboside. You know how metal can rust? Well, your body behaves in a similar way. It's mediated through something called NAD. NAD falls as we age, so we're less able to fight off that oxidative process. We oxidize much like that metal. And NAD fights it, but nicotinamide riboside elevates NAD so we can push back on those oxidative stressors, improving health, improving longevity. The other product is Senosync, has fisetin, one of the key molecules to fight off zombie cells, and we've added resveratrol to that, which is a well-known anti-aging antioxidant again. I don't like supplements that have a ton of ingredients. To me, it suggests that none of it's working. When I prescribe a medication, I prescribe that medicine because I expect that to work. That is exactly what I've done with these products. And I want you to go to drdrew.com/vshredmd for 10% off. Again, that is drdrew.com/vshredmd. Let's get right to it with Salty Cracker. Follow on X, Salty Cracker 9, and make sure to check out his Rumble show. Salty, welcome back. I appreciate you spending a little time with us, and I just wanted to get your thoughts in the aftermath of all this craziness.
Yeah, it's sad to have to come back with what's happening right now. It's been a very surreal last 48 hours. Not even 48 hours. It just happened like 24 hours ago. And the one-two punch of it happening and then watching the reactions from all of this come down. You're watching a whole bunch of ghouls out there celebrating this while the mainstream media press is out there saying, Charlie Kirk deserved it. Like, this is a wild time to be alive.
So what do we do with that? I actually have outrage fatigue at looking at that and going, what? What is wrong with people? This guy's a young man with a young family. They're wishing harm on all these people. Why? What? And I've actually asked a lot of people, and some people showed me some memes of him saying something like transgender individuals shouldn't have rights. I don't remember him saying anything like that. Do you?
Charlie Kirk put out probably tens of thousands of hours worth of content, and I'm not going to say that I've seen it all, but I've seen a lot of it. Yeah. And what I assume is happening here is that they are contorting and pretzelizing stuff that he said. He had deep thoughts on the Civil Rights Act, on transgender people. And it's very easy to take complicated, nuanced thoughts on those things and then turn them into, well, Charlie Kirk hates gay people, so it's fine that he was shot in his head in front of everybody. And I think that's what's happening right now.
Right. So how, So I literally want to understand this. So how did this happen to people? I mean, it's so nutty cuckoo. Is it that they were so brainwashed by the media that they were sort of set up for this? I mean, think about it this way. Corolla was talking about this on his podcast. If you really believe that Trump is Hitler, well, then any good patriot should go do something about that. And not only towards him, but anybody that helps him, right? I mean, if the media has caused people to actually believe that, and then you also add to that the fact that we have coached up transgender individuals to believe that anyone who questions anything about anything in regards to their life is threatening their, what do they call it? Threatening my existence. You're threatening my existence. Well, if you're threatening somebody's existence, well, then you got to kill that person because they're threatening your existence. I mean, all these rhetorical circumstances, and let's talk about, these brainwashing techniques are setting up violence.
A lot of people saw this coming, Dr. Drew. You don't have 8+ years of painting a political movement as Nazis and fascists. You can go see all these people right now, by the way, the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortezes of the world, the Bernie Sanders of the world, all of these left-wing nut jobs who've been calling Charlie Kirk and anybody who helps Donald Trump, anybody who associates with Donald Trump, they're fascist Nazis. You're clearly trying to get a group of left-wing, unhinged, mentally challenged goofballs to think that they're in the position of the correct side of history. They've got morality behind them because we're stopping Hitler. We're stopping the Nazi regime. When in reality, everything that I saw Charlie Kirk talk about was core tenets from the Bible. This is not flaming, right-wing, radicalizing, crazy stuff that Charlie Kirk was saying on these college campuses. He was saying, hey, go out there and get married. Find somebody that compliments you, find somebody that supports you, makes you a better person, have kids with that person, go to work. That's all he was saying. And these people out there are saying, that dude deserved to get what he got. This is wild. That's an attack on Christianity at this point.
But it's because they have been brainwashed. They've been led to believe he is not what you were saying he is. And they would say, something's wrong with you for not understanding he's filled with hate.
Yeah, no, I would imagine the people filled with hate are the ones celebrating a man being assassinated in front of everybody. These ghouls and these goofballs over there are the most angriest people in the world. And they hide behind this iconography of clouds and rainbows and pastel logos and empty, stupid platitudes written in Comic Sans about the love Trump, hate, love all, love, love, love. Meanwhile, they're the angriest people in the world. They are celebrating openly all across social media. And it's not hard to find, by the way, because everybody's out there right now. CNN, MSNBC, all these assholes on these talking head networks are all saying, well, it's a both sides of problem. It's a both sides of problem. And then they bring up Nancy Pelosi's husband or the Minnesota state reps and sit there going, well, where were the people celebrating that? Where are the people? Right. The Paul Pelosi thing's a big joke, by the way, because that dude was that whole situation's real stupid. But those two people being murdered in Minnesota, nobody was making there. You can't find pages and pages and pages of people celebrating that. But this Charlie Kirk, no, it's like an orgy of demon behavior right now.
Is it a reaction to the fact that people see him as being sort of glorified and martyred, and so they have to react to that now too? Because if you have positive feelings about Charlie Kirk, oh, there it is, you're a Nazi.
Charlie Kirk was a strike at their power base that they weren't expecting. Charlie Kirk, I can't think of anybody right now who else was able to get thousands and thousands and thousands of people to college campuses to cheer him. He's got young people. He's got 20-year-olds wearing MAGA hats in public for everybody to see. They're cheering for Charlie Kirk. He's getting millions and millions of views per clip on all of his videos. And he's letting people of a very young generation know it's okay. You don't have to be a lefty. You don't have to be a Bernie bro. You don't have to be a lefty. It's okay. And that shocks the system because they thought they had those young kids locked down. They thought they had them a monopoly of thought on college campuses. Charlie Kirk threatens that. And by threatening that, it impacts their power base. And so they're celebrating Charlie Kirk being dead because they feel that they're going to be now more secure in their position of their left-wing ideology perpetrating, permeating on these college campuses.
Well, Caleb, put that Whitney Cummings tweet back up there. I thought she nailed it. I saw it this morning. She essentially said, those of you who are celebrating, congratulations, you're the Taliban. And I thought, yeah, that gets it. That captures it. There it is. If you were happy as someone was publicly if you are happy someone was publicly executed, they don't share your beliefs. Congrats, you're the Taliban. There it is. Congrats.
Oh yeah, no, right in everybody's face. And to watch,
and listen, that's the part that they don't get is that they would be the prison guards in 1939. They are the Taliban, and this is why up is down and down is up. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, well, these are severely deranged individuals. They're horribly confused. They're mutilating themselves. They're committing massive amounts of self-harm on themselves. They're rampant drug users. These people are mentally insane. But they think that they're the good people, again, because you've got them painted the other side as Nazis.
Right. And so let's assume that they're victims. Let's try to kind of tone it down a little bit. Not that I don't admire your clown world assessment, but let's say they're just victims of the media and their education and the brainwashing and all this stuff that has gone on for a long, long time. And when I get some of these guys to calm down and say, well, now you get them to kind of be more reasonable, where they usually will go is, well, it's all about Trump. It's really Trump. He's the man. He's the problem. He started all this. He's fomenting hatred. And I thought, and I usually will say something like, okay, why don't I react like that to him? Why I may not agree with him. I may think some of the things are kind of obnoxious, he says. I don't freak out. What makes people totally freak out about him?
We live in a broken society. I imagine a lot of this this isn't something that happened last week. You're watching this kind of build up, this kind of rise.
Yeah, we've
got a culture and a society that has deviated from some real core tenets. I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy a Bible, but I mean, come on, everybody understands. I remember you and Adam talking about this 20 years ago on Loveline. You've got a gigantic problem with the nuclear family being dismantled. It is being associated with whiteness as a way to keep Black communities from engaging in the nuclear family. And by attacking that and destroying that, you are guaranteeing generations of just abused and traumatized boys and girls, and they are going to be looking for anything. It's that gang mentality. They come from busted families, and they're all messed up themselves, and they are looking for anybody that will give them attention that they seek. And they latch on to the Blue Skies of the world or the Reddits of the world where all these other weirdos are hanging out, and then they self-reinforce each other, and they won't listen to anybody else. Everybody else is a Nazi, and what that does is it drives them deeper into the psychosis to now where they're openly celebrating Charlie Kirk. And listen, if Donald Trump died, these savages and these monsters wouldn't be satiated. They've got lists of people on Blue Sky right now that they're like, oh, all right, well, Ben Shapiro's next. Joe Rogan's next. Joe Rogan was a Bernie bro 3 minutes ago, you morons. These people are insane. They'll never be satiated.
How much is this just the extremes on both sides? You know what I mean? It's the excesses are where people get into trouble. And let's even posit that maybe Charlie said some things that were excessive, even though he came from I met the guy seemed like a great guy, and he loved his family and And by the way, he left out another piece that Adam and I used to say was family and education. We've had both those things fucked up. So yeah. So well done, everybody. Well. What was I saying? That the excesses are really, those are the ones that you were talking about. And the 70% in the middle wants to just get along. How do we get them to stand up and defend themselves and to engage in some free speech and to get everybody else to shut the F up. How do we get the middle to assert itself?
Well, that's a $1 million question, Dr. Drew. I don't know. I agree with you that there are, it's the extremes out there. The problem that I have with that, though, is that we're letting a group of people say that the extreme on the right is core tenets of Christianity. Like, I got a huge problem with that. Listen, we need to get back to
say it again. The what?
The left-hand side and the mainstream media press are saying that the right extreme are the core tenets of Christianity. They got a huge problem with the Bible. And instead of saying, well, listen, I don't agree with the Bible, so I will disassociate with the church, or I will go. No. They're cheering on, they're idolizing the Catholic Church. Massacres that have been happening. Like you've just had 2 mass shootings at 2 Catholic events, specifically targeting kids. And now you've got another Christian being shot in front of everybody over here. And this seems like this seems like maybe something that we should acknowledge. And the establishment, the mainstream media press, they don't want to acknowledge this. They're busy painting Charlie Kirk as a far right person. He's not far right. That's not far right.
Yeah. No, I know. And so whatever you think is creating that circumstance of the attack on Christianity, the one thing I see is, again, I try to sit in a moderate position, is that morality, any moral discourse and any conversation about the truth means you are consorting with the devil. And I know of no, I mean, if you want to say that or that's the devil at work, okay, call it what you will. It's certainly something sinister happening that would have it that the truth is dangerous and means you must be destroyed. And worse yet, if you start talking about morality, well, now we really have a problem. And Charlie seemed to have both.
And they're celebrating murdering that dude in front of everybody. This is a huge problem. It's a huge problem in this country. We have got to get back to. There's so many issues with this that are going on. I don't think our society in general is structured in a very sane way. Our education system, like you said, it has been obliterated by every metric. The family units, the standards, just common decency. Everything seems to be under assault and attack. Yeah, real basic stuff that they used to put in Saturday morning cartoons has been thrown out the window. And it's hard for me to think that that's on accident. It just seems like it's happening at every single level.
Okay, so that was going to be my next question. So I'm calling this thing sinister. What is sinister force? Some sinister force. And people that have a religious orientation will go, yeah, it's the devil, no problem. It's Lucifer at work. It's something. What do you think it is?
I think that there is a flaw in humanity. I think that we're imperfect beings. And when you have tens and tens and tens and hundreds of millions of us concentrated in areas, you can move them around and you can get them to do stuff that will benefit you. And the people that are interested in doing stuff like that, they're not good people. And so they're not going to move you to benefit the greater good of humanity. That they're going to move you in ways that these weirdos get off on. And you're seeing this, we got rampant drug issues in this country. We've got every decent thing in this country seems to be under assault, and then we're fed all the stuff that's got real bad outcomes. Go out there and be promiscuous. Don't form relationships. Have sex with everybody. Have sex with anything. Go out there and do all the drugs that you want to do. You don't have to have self-control. You don't have to have impulse control. You don't have to be accountable. We'll paint to fund the cops in the middle of the street, so it's okay if they burn. And if that's happening on accident, I would be shocked. I think that there are just evil people in this world. I think they're broken, soulless individuals, and they get off on taking regular humans and making us miserable. I think they feed off of hate.
So Roseanne, I talked to you yesterday, and she said almost the same thing, though her construct was a little different. She said, number one, it's media. And number two, it's them, which she had trouble identifying, which was sort of a moneyed interest above everybody else, who just were interested in more money. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. It certainly follows an ideological framework that we've seen in the past, right? I mean, this is stuff that I looked up this morning. How did Nazis justify? What did I look up on? I love something on Grok. I asked, like, how did Nazis? How did they rationalize violence against their opponents? And all the exact same things that are happening today, not on the right, on the left, are what the Nazis used. And guess what? Mao used the same thing. Stalin used the same thing. They all use this same kind of technique. At the core, it's dehumanizing other people, right? It's dehumanizing everybody else, and it's creating fear and outrage, and then promulgating it in the press. That's the sort of core process. And it makes me wonder if this is just something that happens. You said, we're flawed beings. Is this something that just happens in the historical sweep once in a while? Something about, how personalities change, with different circumstances and family systems. I don't know. I cannot figure it out. It happened in 1790 in France, and they still celebrated, even though that was a terrible catastrophe.
Yeah, I think that there's ebbs and flows in humanity, and it's that constant good versus evil. I think there's 20% of the population they're sociopaths, and then a smaller percentage are psychopaths. I think that there are just busted individuals out there, and over time they start to meld together. Like they start kind of getting pulled together as they work their way through the system, because the system's always changing with technology and how humans operate. And then I think that people then recognize when they get to a critical mass, and then the cycle starts itself over again. They go back into the shadows, then work their way back through the system. And I think this is something that we've seen all through human history on every continent.
So that's a really fascinating theory to me, which is that it's sort of critical mass of people who can't empathize, people who are only concerned about themselves, and use other people to get ends to a means, means to an ends rather.
Yeah, I look at where we're at today, and we were nowhere near this 20 years ago. I mean, you have talk shows, and you have Bill Nye, and they're saying, go get an abortion, do whatever you want, bang whoever you want. And then, if you get pregnant, that's like, go have an abortion. Something that was kind of stigmatized, and there was shame associated. You kind of kept that kind of on the down low. And now they're making abortion cakes. They're wearing abortion. Here's my 24th abortion. They're making social media about this. Hey, 24 hours. Here's what I'm having for breakfast before I go kill a baby. We are we're approaching something that isn't great for humanity, and I think to a certain extent, more and more normies need to see what's going on. A few years ago, you arrested a dude over a meme. You guys wanted to ruin a guy's life over a meme, demanded that he go to jail over a meme, and now you guys are shooting people in the neck in front of everybody. And normies need to understand. We were telling everybody that this is what was going to happen. When they arrested Douglas Mackey years ago, we said this is going to have a bad trend. All right, this doesn't turn out well when you start arresting one. Both sides were sharing the same meme, but with different characters on it, with the same exact thing. But you only wanted one dude arrested. You only wanted one side arrested. You give that political power to those people, and they'll start killing people. And it didn't even take that long. It was under 10 years.
And so, given that this is something that waxes and wanes through history, how does it get pushed down? How does it get pushed away? I mean, back to 1790 France, it took a Napoleon. And is that who we have in the White House? That sort of figure that might suppress this thing, even though, people accuse him of all kinds of things. His history would suggest that that's what's necessary. A prince. Machiavelli argued the same thing. His whole thing on the prince was so we could get back to a republic. So he had the idea of the strong prince that it's needed in certain circumstance, so a republic could be reestablished.
Yeah, I hope not, man. I hope that people, if anything comes out of this situation, this horrible, atrocious situation, is that people realize that, because there's a lot of normies out there. They're like, oh, I don't want to get in politics is stupid. Politics, you're not escaping it. It's going to have an impact on you. And I'm not saying that you need to go get heavily involved and run for mayor or anything, but you better understand the trajectory of things. And waiting for somebody's not something that I'm really interested in doing. I'm hoping that people start just kind of understanding that the change that we needs to happen from us. And we got to start doing it. We got to start being better husbands and better wives and better fathers, better dads. And we need to take culture, music and streaming and art and all of this and reorient it to upholding and promoting key aspects that have good outcomes. Now, this is something that we used to have. You used to teach people, work hard, go out there, be accountable, be strong, build your wealth up. Well, that's all shit on right now. These people are attacking these things, and they're doing it through their aberrations that they've created with stuff that they didn't build, like Marvel movies and other cultural artifacts that they've destroyed, jamming into their bad culture points. And we got to take it back. We got to say it's. You have to raise your children. You have to have kids out there. You have to be a dad. You have to be a mom. You have to raise them. Don't send them all day to the state to raise, because then they're gonna take your kid over and turn your kid against you. I'm not saying you got to homeschool your kids. I'm saying you got to be active in your kids. It's we got to take culture back.
Yeah, and I like the construct, which is, assess things pragmatically, what results in good outcome. And thank God we have this system that our founding fathers put together. It is so resilient. It's so resilient. It can recover from stuff like this. It can absorb all this. And we have our state system, and we have so many things that, even though people's understanding of our government has become severely adulterated. I remember if I mentioned to you the other day, in addition to attacks on free speech, which is the First Amendment, really? You're going to undo the First Amendment? Okay. New York Times put out an article, the free speech is out of control. Oh, okay, New York Times. Yeah. There it is. The First Amendment is out of control. I think you should be I'll tell you what, I'll get in power and I'll stop you, New York Times, from spewing your bullshit. You think then it's out of control? Anyway, but this notion that rights are something provided to you by the state, oh boy. When I started hearing that, I thought, oh my God, it's so backwards. Social ill is done in the name of good. Governments normally perpetrate those ills. Our government is structured in such a way as to protect us from the government, in such a way as to protect rights that we are endowed with. How do they not get that part? It's in the opening sentences.
Tim Kaine just said it the other day. He was in Congress, and Tim Kaine goes, "Can you believe these idiots? They think that rights come from God. Rights don't come from God. Rights come from the state." I was there going, "Holy balls! Holy balls! You're not supposed to say that out loud. I know you're a filthy commie, but you're not supposed to say that out loud." And that's where they're at this point. Just open the mask is gone.
That's what I was referring to. Actually, it was his comment. I forgot it was him, but it was, now that you mentioned it was him. But that is, we are endowed. In the opening statement, they state by our creators. You can understand that. That's the way I have to coach people up about higher power. Understand by our creator in any way you want. The great magnet, the hologram, I don't care. You were endowed by the creator. We as humans are created with certain inalienable rights. Happiness, freedom, property. That's it. That's it. And then everything around that needs to be to protect that from excesses of the institutions we put together to get along together. And you were a teacher at first, right? Weren't you a teacher?
Yeah.
What and how long ago was that?
It's like 15 years ago.
And things I'm sure are worse now, right? Than then. How does that come back?
Well, parents need to understand what's happening. Parents don't know what's happening in the schools. You have this idea of what's happening in the schools. You're starting to see it now. But parents are like, oh, I send my kid to school and there's all these movies and TLC shows about how strong teachers are, how much they love the kids, and they spend all their money buying the kids stuff. Meanwhile, teachers are just like anybody else. They're going to work. It's a job for them. Most 99.9% of the teachers. And you're going to have people who are just shitty at it and they suck. And the school is self-reinforcing and make sure that nobody knows that, by the way. They can't get rid of the bad apples, and it's just a rot all the way down to the core. And so people need to understand that what's on television and how teachers are portrayed in movies isn't what's happening in the classroom. And they'll demand change. And you're seeing that. Conservatives are already doing that. Conservatives are like, holy crap, what are you guys doing? These kids, they're exiting high school and they can't read, write, or solve for X, but they know 84 different sexual positions. And it's like, what the fuck is going on in here? And then they get put on a list.
And
our rees are kind of off today.
The rees are off. I'm looking for the rees on the restream.
Yeah, people are just, I mean, it's just a tough 24 hours right now. It's like no one wants to think or say anything funny. It's like everyone's really kind of muted and feeling really bad.
It's not a funny time.
Yeah, it's really hard to break people out. We had Roseanne yesterday, and it's like I may have giggled one time because everybody's hearts are so heavy right now.
Well, and I'm trying to stay in sort of understanding and solution mode. This is an opportunity to kind of be reflective, right? And there's a lot of rees now coming up on the restream. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. In caps, please.
Things like what we're talking about, making sense of the historical sweep of these things, trying to reestablish the truth and maybe some moral discourse and the health of the family and get back to basics. Is there a way to get the people that have been attacking that to come back, to spring back, to understand? I mean, let me ask this, because I'm a moderate, I'm a little blinded to this. What do we do with the rhetoric that the left feels is so hateful? They seem to be hyper-focused on things that I'm not even sure what it is they're seeing, but anybody that I see mostly on the right, people saying transgender individuals, leave them alone, do whatever they want. I'm not cool about mutilating children, so I want some action there maybe because we got to protect kids. But in terms of being transgender, you be you, enjoy your life. I'm about freedom. Am I missing it? Am I not seeing something that is more inflammatory?
The problem is that you're not insane. The people that are celebrating Charlie Kirk being murdered, by you saying something really real milquetoast, hey, let's not mutilate small children, they're revved up. They're absolutely revved up, and they're saying, well, that is an assault on me. You are trying to murder me. You're trying to get rid of my existence. So it's okay if we silence you. It's okay if we throw you in jail, and it's okay if we shoot you in the head, because your rhetoric is extreme. We shouldn't be trying to wrap how we have political discourse in this country by people who are that mentally deranged. If you have a political disagreement with somebody, it's not okay to shoot them. But that's now a far right talking point.
Right. But I don't know. So you're suggesting the just mockery is the only option. Shame and mockery. That's what Adam says. That's what Corolla says.
I utilize shame and mockery because they utilize the opposite. They'll take a mechanical engineer and they'll dress him up in a white lab coat and tell everybody that he's an authoritative source on vaccines. And so these people that are all engaging from their position, they've got the heir to the authority thing going on. They got the Milgram thing going on in their head, and they're looking for PhDs on the wall. So the opposite in my brain to that is, well, we'll just make fun of you, and we'll make memes of you idiots. we'll make memes, and when you idiots cry, we'll make memes of you idiots crying. And so that's kind of my position.
Well, I thank you for coming back again. It's been very interesting. And what is this? What was somebody? Susan is in there telling somebody to shut the fuck up. So I'm guessing there's some stuff.
Oops, that was me. Sometimes I'm not logged in as me, and I reply, "Yeah, some idiots are posting stuff," and I have no patience for it right now. Like, I'll kick them for 24 hours because it's a free speech zone. They can come back tomorrow, but just no time for this nonsense today.
All right.
I have a heart.
I appreciate you.
Where did you do it on YouTube or Rumble?
Well, it's on the, I don't know, but it came in as me. I was like, again, I appreciate you being here. I know you've got to get off after your show. What's that, Caleb?
No, I did want to throw out there that I was actually pleasantly relieved to see a lot of the prominent super leftists say good things. Like there were probably like a handful of 5 to 10 of them that tried to politicize this more. But even people like Barack Obama and stuff that you wouldn't expect were saying nice stuff. Unlike these people, like this one here. Or this one.
No, that guy's talking about losing your job, right?
Oh yeah, he's going to lose his job. All of them are going to lose their jobs.
Oh, I see.
I think actually all the people that I pictured probably have by now.
It's all just so sad, but it's revealing itself, as they say. The sinisterness, the sinister elements are revealing themselves, and let's address things head on, and let's try to get to some sort of pragmatic ground, at least, which is what Salty's talking about. My friend, when does your show start?
Well, I'll be on tomorrow, 4:30 p.m.
Tomorrow, 4:30, and you can find you on X at Salt. It's 4:30 Pacific. Is that when it is?
Yep.
Okay, and 7:30 Eastern, and we'll look for you on X, Salty Cracker 9.
I really appreciate it.
And did I leave anything out? Is there anything more you wanted to say before I let you get on your way?
No, I'm good. Thank you so much again for having me, and big love to Douglas Mackey.
All right, we'll talk to Douglas next.
Big love to your whole salt world.
And the Salt Queen. All right, Douglas Mackey up next. Don't go away. I'm excited to bring you a new product, a new supplement, Fatty. I take it. I make Susan take it. My whole family takes it. This comes out of, believe it or not, dolphin research. The Navy maintains a fleet of dolphins, and a brilliant veterinarian recognized that these dolphins sometimes developed a syndrome identical to our Alzheimer's disease. Those dolphins were deficient in a particular fatty acid. She replaced the fatty acid, and they didn't get the Alzheimer's. Humans have the same issue, and we are more deficient in this particular fatty acid than ever before. And a simple replacement of this fatty acid called C15 will help us prevent these syndromes. It's published in a recent journal called Metabolites. It's a new nutritional C15, pentadecanoic acid, it's called. The deficiency that we are developing for C15 creates something called the cellular fragility syndrome. This is the first nutritional deficiency syndrome to be discovered in 75 years and may be affecting us in many ways, and as many as 1 in 3 of us. This is an important breakthrough. Take advantage of it. Go to fatty15.com/Dr. Drew to receive 15% off a 90-day starter kit subscription, or use code Dr. Drew at checkout for that 15% off, or just go to our website, drdrew.com/fatty15. Weight loss and gum loss, the Wellness Company's got you covered with new products. Drop. It's for aggressive appetite control. It comes in easy-to-use liquid drops. No prescription, no painful shot. It is an oral peptide called retartritide. It actually mimics the way the body naturally loses weight, and it is designed to support faster, more focused weight loss when combined with healthy eating and exercise. And Smile is a breakthrough fluoride-free peptide toothpaste. It gently whitens and reverses gum loss, actually rebuilding tissue at its source with a proprietary blend of peptides, remineralizers, and soothing botanicals. Go to drdrew.com/TWC for more information on Drop and Smile. And check out another new and innovative solution for hair loss called Roots while you're there. That's drdrew.com/TWC for 10% off. What's so special about Paleo Valley's grass-fed and finished bone broth and superfood bars? Well, everything. All are delicious, high in nutrients, low in calories, and contain nothing artificial. Co-founder Autumn Smith on what goes into every superfood bar.
So we have bone broth protein powder, and then we've added other superfoods, cashew butter, we have spirulina in there, acerola, broccoli powder, kale, blueberries. And so it really is kind of just an infusion of superfoods with every bite.
And then there's the extraordinary bone broth protein made with an ancestral approach that boosts our collagen intake.
Collagen is something that's gone by the wayside in our modern diet because we don't eat nose to tail anymore, but it was something we ate a lot of, and it has so many benefits. So if you have sagging skin, joint pain, gut issues, your decreased bone mineral density, slow to heal your wounds, slow recovery, these are all things that collagen can dramatically improve. If we're not giving our body the building blocks to produce it, we just age more rapidly. It also improves sleep, improves blood sugar control. So it's essentially like the Swiss Army knife of healthy aging.
Like I said, Paleo Valley's bone broth is something special. Make Paleo Valley part of your longevity regimen. Go to drdrew.com/Paleo Valley for 20% off when you subscribe and 15% off your first order. That is drdrew.com/Paleo Valley.
I ain't Dr. Drew.
Dr. Drew. You want to spend the whole session talking about Dr. Drew?
There you go. Even you call him Dr. Drew.
Just a minute, we'll have Paul Morrow in here, former detective and expert in all things sort of crime. He's, I think, in Utah right now, and he's going to give us a report from the ground. But first, we are talking to Douglas Mackey. And by the way, Caleb, if Morrow comes in, I think we have him for a very limited time, so please do let me know when he shows up. Douglas Mackey was just referenced by Salty Cracker. He's a free speech activist, social media influencer under the name Ricky Vaughn, and he was convicted of conspiring to deprive citizens of their right to vote. In spite of others doing the same, he got convicted. Douglas, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Dr. Drew. Great to be here.
So tell people the story. It's rather extraordinary, but it's so consistent with the excesses of the lawfare of the last 8 or 10 years.
Absolutely. And unfortunately, we're seeing that if they can't arrest you, they might try to assassinate you. So in my case, back in 2016, during the election season, I saw what I found to be humorous meme on a political website. And it was an image of a woman, and it said, you can text your vote for Hillary Clinton to a certain number, 59925 or whatever. Humorous, you can avoid the line and vote from your couch. And so I posted this meme, not even really thinking much of it. And my whole entire
little do you know that's going to be how we vote in the future.
Exactly. Little did we know. and I'm sure they would love that because, then imagine how much fraud there would be if they allowed that. But anyway, I posted this meme, not thinking much of it. My entire account was banned from Twitter at the time. And then a couple of years later, 7 days after Joe Biden was inaugurated, I got a knock on my door at 7 a.m. It was the FBI. They said, you're under arrest. And the judge, I was taken to the courthouse here in West Palm Beach. And the judge told me, you've been charged with conspiracy against rights to actually try to steal people's right to vote by posting this meme online. They said that I was in cahoots with a bunch of different people in group chats, designing the memes, planning when to share them, so on and so forth, which this whole thing was like a Kafkaesque nightmare, the trial, you can just imagine. And so what happened was that was 7 days after Joe Biden was inaugurated, mind you. So the same charge they brought against me, they later brought against Trump 2 years later. So perhaps I was the guinea pig there. They charged me in March of 2023. They tried me. I went to trial. March 2023, was convicted. 6 months later or so, I was sentenced to 7 months in federal prison. And the judge actually told me, you're going to go away to federal prison for 7 months, and we're not going to even give you a bond pending appeal. So we had to appeal to the Circuit Court of Appeals. This is a federal case, mind you. And just to get a bond pending appeal, we finally we won that bond, thank God. And then the tide was finally turning. Just this year, and just actually last month in July 9th of this year, we won the case. I actually won the case because the circuit court found that they didn't have enough evidence that I actually conspired with anybody to post this meme. They said I was in these group chats that I wasn't even in half the time, and there was no evidence that I was even conspiring with anybody else, let alone whether posting a joke meme I actually intended for anyone to lose their vote, which is completely absurd. So finally, we've had some good news. I won the case, and right now I'm huddling together with some attorneys, and we're planning on filing a tort claim against the federal government to seek not just compensation for damages done by them bringing this case, which implicates the First Amendment, but also because we want accountability for the actors within government that perpetrated this injustice.
Do you know who Christina Bobb is?
Yes.
It seems like she was the lawyer involved in the original indictment or concern. I guess it was a grand jury investigating Trump. I think it was on this issue, right? And then she got dragged in and convicted of some spurious stuff also.
Absolutely. I believe she was charged in Atlanta, I believe, as part of that case that they tried to bring against Trump. And Jeff Clark, my friend Jeff Clark, is another guy that's just been dragged through the ringer. And there's so many of us. It's hard to believe. And we're just finding out about more and more lawfare cases.
Well, and it goes to what Trump was saying, which is if it can happen to me, it can happen to you. And was there anything else about you that they had dehumanized you to the point that you became a Nazi sympathizer?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They called me a Nazi sympathizer, a racist, anti-whatever. The list goes on and on. And well, they took some old posts that I had made and said, this means that you hate Black people, that you don't want them to be able to vote. They actually brought this into the trial just because this meme that I didn't even make, there was a picture of a Black woman on it. And they said, this means that you didn't want Black women to vote.
Just because you took an image of somebody, it's hard to understand these things. Well, I guess the only solution is to take action in the courts, right? It seems like a lot of this stuff is getting sorted out in the courts. Where do you apply pressure? How do you do this?
Good question. So we are filing a tort claim, which is a sort of an internal claims process with the Department of Justice. And we know that this Justice Department is trying to right these injustices. So my attorney, his name is James Burnham, we feel very confident that the DOJ is going to hear us out and hear our claim. And like I said, it's not just about compensation. We also want to pursue investigations. So this is something where we're blessed to have President Trump in the White House because, of course, we would just be stonewalled if this was anybody else. But this administration is dedicated to free speech and to correcting some of these lawfare injustices.
Well, and at the Department of Justice, Harmeet Dillon has built her whole department around protecting these rights and privileges. Have you consulted with her?
Not yet, but we are certainly going to be talking with Harmeet, absolutely, as well, because get this, they didn't even run this case through DOJ civil rights. They were investigating this case during President Trump's presidency, kind of secretly, in secret, and they ran it through the Public Integrity Division, which is the same division that they later weaponized against the president, against President Trump, which is pretty remarkable. So we really want to know all the internal goings on here. Was this, who wrote the memos to bring this case? Whose idea was it? Was there any external pressure from Hillary Clinton or some of these far left-wing NGOs, the likes of which are SPLC, ADL, that were cheerleading my prosecution from the very beginning? We want to know what kind of pressure they applied to the Justice Department.
What is this department called? Public what?
Public integrity. The public integrity
still
section.
Exist? It sounds like something again from Russia or something. It's really just, it's very spooky sounding.
Yeah, these are the people tasked with going after bribery and that sort of thing, which we know they buried a whole bunch of that during the Biden administration. But it's funny you ask that, because the last reporting that we know of, I believe 20 out of the 30 attorneys in public integrity were let go. The attorney who brought my case, Bill Galata, I believe he is still in public integrity, but we want to investigate, look and see what was his role and what was Maine Justice's role. This case, this kind of a case, which is they admitted all along as a novel case, this goes through Maine Justice. You don't just bring this case as a line attorney in Brooklyn, New York. So we want to have accountability here.
You know, we're obviously under the shadow of a great tragedy with the Charlie Kirk situation. And you opened your comments by saying if they can't lawfare you now that they've lost some of that capacity, they're going to start using weapons and violence. What is your assessment of all this?
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't point out I owed a great debt of gratitude to Charlie Kirk. If a lot of people don't remember this, Charlie Kirk, I believe he was banned on Fox News from 2001 to 2004 for questioning the election. He championed my case at a time when it was not popular at all because he understood free speech and the First Amendment. And it took a lot of money and a lot of fundraising to fight my case at the trial level, pre-trial, post-trial appeals. And he actually donated some of his own money and led the charge in fundraising. So I owe a great debt of gratitude to Charlie Kirk. But absolutely, the sad thing is that if we know that they want to kill Trump, let's just be frank. We know that they tried to put him in jail so that he would die in prison. But unfortunately, they also want to kill him. And they killed, unfortunately, a proxy. Perhaps they couldn't reach President Trump, but they killed a great freedom fighter and a great man and a great ally of President Trump. And look, I think that all of us are at risk. So it's just insane. We've seen it not just with criminal cases, of course, but the lawfare, the civil litigation that they pursued against Trump supporters. So let's just call it what it is. This is a campaign to dehumanize and harass President Trump and his MAGA supporters.
Dehumanizing seems to be the thing. This dehumanizing instinct is what's at the core of it. And then there's enough brainwashing going on that people feel at their liberty to do that. But you went a little too far saying that they want to kill Trump. They just want him to die.
They want him to die. And a lot of them, I believe, want to still kill him. You know, I can't even imagine being the Secret Service and those threats pouring in.
Yeah. Oh, it's got to be very difficult. Have you had any threats of violence against yourself?
So not anything major. I got a couple, but fortunately nothing major. But the sad thing is that because Charlie Kirk and President Trump are so effective, they are taking all the arrows. If you or I become somehow one day as powerful as them, we will have the target on our back. So that's the unfortunate thing. They go after people not because they're extreme. Charlie Kirk, I don't believe, was extreme. Not because they are crazy. They go after people because they are smart and effective and they're speaking the truth.
Where do you want people to find you?
So you can find me at x.com/Doug Mackey Case. And we're just raising funds to pay off legal fees at memedefensefund.com.
And Mackey spelled Mackey. Douglas, appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Dr. Drew.
He spells his name the way Frederick Douglass spells it, right? 2 S's.
It's my son's first name.
Not with 2 S's.
I know. We should have done that.
All right. So my next guest is here, Paul Morrow. He's a contributor for Fox News, attorney at DeMarco Law. Previously served as commanding officer of the New York City Police Department's Legal Bureau and the executive officer at the Intelligence Operations and Analysis Bureau. He has briefed members of Congress, counterterrorism, Justice Department, Homeland Security, and he is, I believe, Paul, you're on the ground there in Utah now? Oh, we got a picture too. Oh, no, we don't. Good. Keep going. Are you on the ground there in Utah, Paul?
1 second. He is logged in.
He may be muted. He may be muted. That's what typically happens when we get a little bit of trouble here.
It's set up though.
Gosh,
No, guys, you got me? You should have me now,
we
right?
got you, Paul.
There you go.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes,
I was
sir, we
on
do.
with more degrees than a thermometer, and I didn't know enough to unmute the phone, so sorry.
Fair enough. So you, I believe, are on the ground there in Utah. What is the update?
I'm sorry to say there isn't really much. We're all standing by here. There was supposed to be a presser that was announced. It was supposed to happen earlier today. Then it got called off, and then we heard that Dan Bongino and Kesh Patel, top two in the Bureau, are en route here. So almost certainly it was called off to await their arrival so that they can hold it. And all I would say, Doc, is I think you and I both know that if you're bringing in the top two executives from an agency, they're not coming here to say, well, we don't know what we're doing and this is failing. So my gut tells me when they get here, we're going to get a fairly substantive update that will give us an idea of where they're going. But I think they wouldn't be going in this direction if they didn't have some gathering confidence.
Do they have a time for that press conference?
They don't. I was just told evening, and that might have been down to just the vagaries of getting a plane and when they were going to get here and so on and so forth. Right. But we were told before the original scheduling that things were, quote unquote, fast breaking. And remember, this is after they issued that still photo that really does seem to be what they're hanging their hats on. So my gut tells me somebody called in with a very good tip and said, I absolutely know that person. And my gut tells me again that there's going to be a strong nexus to this school, because that's not the first person, it's the first time rather that person was up on that roof. They knew enough to get up there, how to get up there, all of that. So they're either a student or somebody who has been here often or somebody who did a lot of reconnaissance. And I think that putting all of that together, likely somebody said, I've seen this person around, I have a name for you.
Wow. What about the rifle that was found in the woods? It almost seemed too spot on, with all the rhetoric scribbled on it and stuff on the bullets and things. It almost seemed too on point, like it was almost like somebody planted it there to get people thinking that somehow that's the instrument, or have they shown that was the weapon?
They seem to be quite sure, and I had this actually last night, that they've recovered the correct weapon. Now, the image that's going around is not an official release. So both those things can be true, right? They have the gun. That's just not it. Right. As of now, the image that's going around is a Mauser long-range rifle with a scope. Fairly expensive, but something you can get a hold of, especially if you do a second hand. The important thing there is that they'll know. Why? Because unfortunately, one of the hard data points that they do have to work on is the round that killed Charlie Kirk. So you can do the ballistics. They have the bullet. They certainly have the bullet, either from the body or if it went through this better than I do. The high power round will go through a body. They will have recovered that round. So you can match that to the rifle, and you can say, okay, this is the right thing, and that gives you a lot of ways to go backwards. You can check out the scope, which might not have been bought with the rifle, and you can see where it was purchased, even if it was secondhand. You can trace it. But as of now, they are not equivocating. They are saying they do have the gun, and that tells me they've done the match.
And this is just a question of curiosity, but that's the kind of weapon I imagined. This was not going to be, you had to have and it was so specific in one shot, there had to be a high-powered scoped weapon, right?
Absolutely. As soon as we saw it, they had that film of them grabbing that older guy as everybody was fleeing, and they ultimately charged him with obstruction because apparently he was babbling all kinds of nonsense, and that's, I guess, the foundation for that charge. But I was immediately skeptical that he was the shooter for a couple of reasons. And let me use a reference point everybody's familiar with. We've all seen the footage of Oswald getting shot by Jack Ruby. And Ruby his body does not react the way that Charlie Kirk's does in that horrible video. And that's because there's a real difference between the damage that a handgun is going to do and a round like you're talking about here. So it was very apparent to me that this guy that they grabbed, who was near the stage, couldn't be the shooter, because he would have had to have pulled out a rifle, and everybody would have said, no, there's the gun right there. He dropped it, and You didn't have that. So
Right.
I was skeptical, and it turns out that was accurate, because everybody does now seem to be saying quite unequivocally that from the rooftop, 200 yards away, and you know the rest.
Is there any, did you hear about this plane that took off and dropped something and then came back an hour, went off radar and then came back an hour later? Is that just a coincidence?
I would say so. Look,
Yeah.
it's funny. I just referenced the JFK thing. There's this thing where people, and it happened with JFK, where people just couldn't accept the fact that an insect like Lee Harvey Oswald would have acted alone to kill JFK. Now, to be clear, I actually don't think he acted alone. But for big events, we want big perpetrators. And, so we look for these deep, deep things like the Crooks shooting in Butler that almost killed Donald Trump. Everybody would like it to be, I guess, or some portions of society would like it to be an Iranian plot. He was catfished. He was weaponized. There's more to this. He's got encrypted apps on his phone and all this sort of stuff. And all I can say is that's just not what happened here. In terms of crooks, we would know, and we would at least know that there are questions. And I can just tell you, having done so much counterterrorism, et cetera, Iran is not using Thomas Crooks as their cat's paw. Is it possible? Sure. Anything is possible, but it would really, really be a break in tradecraft. And I feel the same way here. I've heard a lot of foreign intel stuff attached to this thing already.
Yeah.
All I would say is be skeptical.
Common things patterns are patterns for a reason. And when you look at assassinations, particularly in the 20th century, whether it's Garfield, McKinley, Franz Ferdinand, Teddy Roosevelt, people forget the assassination attempt on him. These were all lone wolves, screwballs, did it at relatively close range or not, but they or Lee Harvey Oswald, they were all alone. They're all one dude that created this horrible damage.
And they're all very low rent operations. These are not big, complex, Rube Goldberg operations. These are real simple.
Yes.
Guy takes a gun, guy gets up on a roof, guy shoots at the president.
Yeah, that's it. It's just we don't like to. It seems too makes us all feel too vulnerable. And to that point, do you think the fact? I wonder what your thoughts are about the fact that everybody had to witness the violence. I mean, to me, when I saw the video, I thought, oh boy, this is going to create a reaction. There's something about that the bloodlust of scapegoating, when it's actually acted out, it creates a huge emotional reaction in the populace.
Yeah, I think there's no arguing with that, especially in light of how graphic that video is. And I think a lot of people who have even advocated violence against people like Donald Trump or Charlie Kirk, now that they see what it looks like, I hope that they're taking a step back, because this stuff is not antiseptic and it's not anodyne. And we have to see, once they capture the perp, and they will, we have to see what the motivations truly were, what world it's coming out of. I agree with you that the stuff about the inscriptions that are supposedly, allegedly on the shell casing feels a little bit, and the rifle feels a little bit too on the nose, but I could also see somebody mimicking what we saw from Mangione. I could see them looking at that and say, that's a good idea. And hey, Ryan Ruth almost got the shot off. And hey, the guy in Butler did it from 150 yards away. I can mimic that. It has a lot of the elements of all of this recent lineup of political violence. So I think you're right. And just to sort of close the loop on that, all I would say is, in the same vein, can you imagine, Doc, what it would have looked like? This video is graphic enough. Can you imagine if Donald Trump had not turned his head and that high-powered round has caught him flush in his head on international television, the video that we would have to live with now?
Yeah, and I heard his family talking about that. They are having sort of PTSD/flashbacks, sort of fantasy images of exactly that, and it is not. It's not okay. We have to do something about the world we live in right now, but I don't know what the solutions are.
Well, I will say this: among the solutions, and mine are probably a lot more prosaic than big think, because I do think you're right. I think there's likely a big think resolution here. And look, maybe it's cyclical. Maybe at some point we come out of it, we're less polarized and all of that. I don't know that anybody really can foresee the levers that'll move that. But in a more prosaic sense, I heard some of your last guests, and I just have to name check this because if I don't get the chance to do it, I'll never forgive myself. Donald Trump is still in danger. The Secret Service, which is only a 2,500 to 2,700 or so agency, from what I understand, they don't like to publicize their full numbers, but Rich Staropoli, who I've had on my podcast, former special agent in charge with the service, high rank, tells me they're down 1,000 agents. It's almost half. That's the equivalent of the NYPD being down 18,000 police officers. And according to Rich, who knows and is still heavily connected there, the management there is no better. They have not put the money into the technology that they need to. They don't have the leadership they need. They're not getting the training. And their classes, check this out. When the NYPD puts a class in, you're talking 1,000 cops, 1,200 cops. Service puts in 25, 26 agents. They're down 1,000. Do the math on how long it'll take. They need to jump on this. Somebody in Congress needs to say we need a surge capacity. Donald Trump's in danger. And you and I both know Charlie Kirk, in a lot of ways, rest in peace, God bless him. And I'm not minimizing his impact. But in a lot of ways, he was a proxy for Donald Trump. And the prize is Trump. They want him dead. You said it yourself. I'm not telling your audience anything they don't know, but that's the truth.
Well, where can people get your podcast?
You can check us out at opsdesk.org. It'll take you to the Substack, and we do it on there. It's on YouTube. We put it out on X and all over the place. We're growing, and we're going to push it out a little bit more on the various networks and social media platforms. But as of now, opsdesk.org. And of course, you can see me on Fox. I am coming up at 7 o'clock Eastern time on Laura Ingraham, and hope to see you there.
And Paul D. Morrow on X. My friend, thank you for being here. We really appreciate it.
Doc, you're the best. Appreciate you.
Take care. Caleb, I see what you put up there. Caleb wants to know why there's no manifesto. I don't want to put Paul in that position of speculating about stuff when we know the FBI director is coming to tell us everything.
He literally just landed in Utah today, an hour ago.
We had to go after Paul. He's a friend of ours, and poor guy, he's very busy, and he very kindly spent some time. But
we'll have him back when he has more information.
And I know what he would say, which is if there is such a thing, which there might be, the FBI director will tell us about it in a couple of hours. So we can't say why there isn't one until we knew.
That's the strangest part about this to me right now is because all of these ideological driven killings and attacks have always had some type of a manifesto, usually posted before. You got to think about, I know this person is crazy, but they've obviously were planning this for a while. If they were able to get out of there and figure out all of these things, it doesn't seem like too coincidental. So where's their manifesto? Where's their video that they posted before? What's the point?
Okay, so I would argue that you're putting your finger on something that makes this guy different, right? The recent ones,
it's a guy?
He looked like a guy in those pictures. Whatever,
very slight, and could have a ponytail under that hat.
And
I don't know.
He could be. Who knows? But I'll see what his preferred pronoun is once we get who it is.
I'm not kidding.
The fact that he did not have a manifesto does make this perpetrator slightly different than some of the other ones. Again, presuming he doesn't have one. But I would tell you that the ones that had think about those manifestos. They were rambling. They were bizarre. They were cold-blooded. Right. This is something a little different, right? That was
you're
closer
really on
to either.
There. You are. No, you're right. Because the other people, the most recent ones with manifestos, those manifestos don't actually make sense. So this kind of indicates a smarter, more calculated attacker in this incident because they didn't leave clues.
But it also moves them away from serious mental illness, right?
Right.
The other ones you go, oh my God, you've said nutty a couple of times. But they have SMI, they have serious mental illness, and it was allowed to go unchecked. And the one dude that killed himself and shot in the Catholic Church, that was
they always kill themselves.
But that was a That was a psychopath, that cold-bloodedness, and then the manifesto and the craziness. But this is not that as far as we know yet. So that means this guy's going to have this is going to be closer to the Luigi Mangione thing, although he too was manic when he did all that. But we'll see. This may be strictly, who knows? We'll see. I don't want to speculate until we hear from the FBI director. So we'll be waiting for that. And Susan, anything else on your
You're
frontier?
soothing Elijah Fire's cats. They're purring. They like your voice.
Good to know. Good to know. Shall we put upcoming guests on the screen here?
That was the most recent thing I read.
Yeah, Jay Jick says this guy engraved the unspent ammo. We think maybe that might be somebody alleging that stuff. We don't know the facts yet. Let's sit tight. We will have something very soon.
I always go conspiracy. I always think that's a diversion to make it look like it was that kind of a killing.
Or it could be just somebody trying to create some more hate.
Right, because we are
JP
speculating
Jessica
here,
Rose, Joe Latipo.
Right. Susan's right. Like, I know we're speculating because we don't have the info, but that was the first thing I thought is, wow, this is kind of convenient that it matches the most recent mass shooters and and then there's no manifesto. It's just some stuff written on bullets, which is what all these other people have been doing. So it seemed almost like it was a distraction, which I wouldn't even be surprised if the shooter himself or herself actually left that as like a false clue. Like, it seems like it's a diversion.
That's what Susan thought.
Right.
That's what Susan thought. It's too, and it was what Paul was talking about, it being too on the nose.
I don't believe anything.
But now we have a different gun that fits more with the ballistic. So we'll see. Zach Levi coming in next week with Batyangar Sargon.
Was arrested, the older guy. Did he have a gun in his hand or something?
I don't know.
It was a camera.
He must have.
It was the two people that they arrested or detained at the beginning. One of them was just, being ridiculous. And so they got him because it seemed like it wasn't him. And they let both of them go. So they're still hunting for the guy.
And what Paul was saying was because he didn't have a rifle and he was at such close range to the stage, it didn't make sense.
But did he have a handgun in his pocket or something?
Caleb is saying no, but even if he did, this was not a handgun injury. That's the point.
Yeah.
So that was that. Horrible beyond.
It's so nasty. I couldn't look at social media today. It just was killing me. Thank you, Caleb, for doing the work, and Emily, because I just couldn't look at it. It just disgusts me so much.
I really don't think that
tough.
the person who did this actually thought this through very well, because it is only elevated Charlie Kirk much higher. Like I see a lot of my leftist friends are shutting down people in our circles that are celebrating this because they're like, they don't understand. Like the people who are not chronically online all the time aren't really super aware of Charlie Kirk. So they're seeing their friends who are very online all the time saying all these horrible things. And they're like, who are you? What did this guy do? Right. They don't know. They have not been offended by him because he hasn't reached that point of breaking into the zeitgeist in that large of a set. He was close to it. He was getting there, but not where the normal people just have a hatred for him built in. And so a lot of people are really looking at their friends like, what are you guys talking about? You guys look insane.
The other thing this guy achieved, and I think your president put a little wind in this sail, which is, look, Jesus Christ was a scapegoat who became a martyr. Right? That's what can happen with a scapegoat becoming a martyr. It can be very, very, very powerful. And Charlie Kirk is a scapegoat, right? He's scapegoating for all the mob violence. And Donald Trump put a little coda on it that made it seem like he was martyred. And people are kind of picking up on that. And that's what you're talking about, Caleb, which is that it backfired. Whether or not Trump's words did that, I don't know. He's sort of an expert in these kinds of persuasion. But it is a fact that the scapegoat can easily become the martyr. And you see a lot of people behaving that way. So it doesn't, people look, I think Salty said it the best. Go out and do something. Let's go out and do things, but live a good life, live right, live just, live, by the golden rule. Get back to the basics, the pragmatic basics of being a good person, being a good parent, a good sibling, whatever it might be. It is pretty simple when the day is done, but it is going to have to require some effort to silence some of the excesses on both sides. Thank you for being here. We will be here next Tuesday. Zach Levi coming in. Interesting time to talk to him. And Batyangar Targon Unger, how do you pronounce this, her name? I can never get her full name, but she's a young activist. She's got a lot, very interesting commentary. She was on Bill Maher a couple weeks ago. And have a good weekend, everybody. And let's try to kind of move through this cloud, but do so in such a way that is productive. See you next week.
Ta-ta.
Ask Dr. Drew is produced by Caleb Nation and Susan Pinsky. As a reminder, the discussions here are not a substitute for medical care, diagnosis, or treatment. This show is intended for educational and informational purposes only. I am a licensed physician, but I am not a replacement for your personal doctor, and I am not practicing medicine here. Always remember that our understanding of medicine and science is constantly evolving. Though my opinion is based on the information that is available to me today, some of the contents of this show could be outdated in the future. Be sure to check with trusted resources in case any of the information has been updated since this was published. If you or someone you know is in immediate danger, don't call me, call 911. If you're feeling hopeless or suicidal, call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 800-273-8255. You can find more of my recommended organizations and helpful resources at drdrew.com/help.